Despite the hearsay of Korea looking weaker into this year's World Cup and a lowered amount of practice time, doesn't matter. The Korean region is on a higher plane of existence when it comes to Overwatch gameplay. But fear not, with the replay system coming in full effect, we can take a deeper look at their decision-making, teamwork, and individual plays to try to catch up the rest of the world. Thematically, this video is going to be jumping all over the place with different elements of Overwatch play, but the first thing that I want to point out is a concept that I don't get enough time to explain and how important it is to Overwatch play, and that's spacing. This was shown by the multiple ways that Team South Korea was prepared to deal with this oncoming Earthshatter. They don't have their own Reinhardt, so Earthshatter will be devastating if they don't outplay it with rotations and spacing. As this team fight starts, notice how Jonak and the team are looking for poke angles, looking to deal damage. But as soon as Jonak sees the rotation of the tanks coming up center bridge, he immediately begins start using cover. Now he's safe. And Animo saw the same thing, but as Lucio, he can be a bit closer to the fight since he can use his wall ride to dodge the Earthshatter entirely, jumping over it and having sound barrier ready for this engage. And that sound barrier would have been useful if their other defense mechanism somehow failed as well. You see, they have the tanks and the squishies split. Tanks on the right side, squishies on the left. They're almost baiting and asking this Earthshatter to come in, but Fury is right there with the key boop in order to stop the follow-up of the Rhine pin, which is one of the only ways that Australia is going to find a frag here, and thus, Carpe has multiple things for his team saving him here. The rotation of the supports kept them safe, so that barrier could be used. The tanks were at a different angle, so that the shatter was minimized anyway, but from this overhead view, we can really see how this spacing works out. By with mere positioning in their formation alone, Trill does not have a good Earthshatter. He has to hit the Lucio, who dodges it anyway, and if he turns to get the tanks, or to hit Carpe, who, let's face it, even had a chance to block with Ice Block as it was and not get shattered, there is no shatter for them to land. Everyone is safe. Next clip, this one against China. Expert use of team positioning and rotations. I mean, this one is actual, well, a circle, most literal form of rotation. China actually does a very smart thing here, going to the Rhine Zarya rushdown brawl comp, which in theory should beat the Orisa comp if it closes the distance, but it's the team footsie game here that is never gonna let that happen. Orisa wants to keep Rhine as far away from her as she can. As the chase comes, the rotation quite literally keeps running away. And the cool thing that Korea does here is consistently look for control impact in these fights. Lucio is a star hero when it comes to rotation and team play, and Animo just does everything right here, holding speed amp to mirror the Death Balls amp so he can get his team around. But he hangs around looking for a boop here. If that Zarya bubble wasn't perfectly timed, he probably wins the fight right there. The team peels back, starts using their supercharger, and then Animo comes all the way back around again to manipulate the Rhine to get a double alley-oop play between his boop and Fate's halt to send Rhine into the abyss. And in watching this, we really can see where China's teamwork is lacking, because as opposed to the spacing we talked about in the Anubis clip, this one, you're running the 3-3 GOATS comp, everyone has to be together, shoulder to shoulder. That's the only way this comp really works. China's Brigitte tries to get cute, going for a pincer attack, but the stun's not going to have any follow-up if the rest of the team isn't there. They scramble to try to join, but it's divide and conquer. China's relationship between teammates wasn't cohesive enough in order to find any impact out of their rushdown setup. The rotations and ability usage of South Korea was just too good. They also did have an ult advantage in this fight as well, making it harder, but it's rare that South Korea is even put on the back foot, because their opponents always make way more mistakes than they do, and they know how to capitalize, so they're almost always looking to be at an advantage. Take a look at how they dismantled the 3-3 comp here on Nepal Village. This time, really exploiting a poor shot call from Team UK here. I've watched this map at the pro level a ton, and the number one thing that a brawl comp should do when they see a Pharah opening like this is hide. Going to point here with 20 seconds left has no value at all. You can't capture the point, and you can't fight anything because Pharah's flying away. The brawl comp has to hope that South Korea makes a mistake and jumps on point to fight them in close range, but they don't do that. They just damage amp their Pharah and shoot fish in a barrel until everything's dead. Now, generally, this is how you counter the GOATS comp on these King of the Hill maps. The only problem is, the sustain they have often lasts so long that they get tons of objective time for free, making it so that even if you quote-unquote counter it, you have a chance to lose the game because they get so much objective progress. But The thing I want to highlight here is Fate's Winston play, because it's probably the biggest struggle going up against a 3-3 brawl. Fate knows this matchup perfectly, and he's going to get insane value out of his position by not being a resource drain on his team. Winston players, take note. Playing Winston with a pharmacy, you don't want to ever ask your Mercy to have to heal you. Ideally, she wants to be damage amping the Pharah as much as possible, juggling a little bit of healing your way every now and again. He pokes from the perimeter and uses his bubble to help create a firing lane for his Pharah player, and Winston's job here is almost more so to deal with follow-up and clean up through the fight, more so than engaging. Oftentimes you think Winston, well, he's a dive tank, he's got to go dive them, right? Well, no, he's stepping toe onto the point in order to contest it a little bit, builds a bit of ult, and if something gets critical, then he can commit to go finish it off, but this is just poke phase. He's looking to avoid damage here and try to keep at perfect range to deal damage, but still run away, minimizing the amount that Mercy has to heal him, maximizing the amount of damage that his Pharah gets to do, which is going to build up barrage in no time. Remember, the 3-3 Goats comp wants to exploit Fate here. He's probably the best target for them to focus, because he's the only one who's really going to dare touching his foot near point, but he uses the leap here to dodge the engage attack onto him, drawing UK into his Pharah's line of sight, creating a better angle for Pharah. So in short, the best things to do in this matchup: poke, avoid damage, save leap to run away, and the most fun part is when we get to combined with a commit. Look how he times with his Pharah player to go in straight ahead of her to drop this bubble down to set up for the barrage. Now granted, he's against Goats comp, so not many things could shoot him anyway, but that bubble helps secure it. This team fight against Australia was amazing to see how Korea completely shut out Australia's ability to play their comp on this map. They start out the first team fight with a pick, so Korea shows respect. They back off, they yield the objective, and if you've played this map much, you know that there's some severe Widowmaker lines of sight, particularly playing from this high ground. Well, South Korea knows that Australia's running the double sniper setup, and their engage tactics are just too darn good. By approaching from this far side, often called coast on any map that has a big ledge like this, look how they're able to fight outside of the line of sight of Widowmaker. She's eventually going to get a kill here, but realistically there was about one useful shot that Huss could take just based on how South Korea engaged on the point. And it's Fate's engage here that shrinks the battlefield. That's what makes dive so strong. For the few seconds that bubble is active, engaging onto the backline, the map might as well just be this point because Widowmaker can't see anything with the barrier in her way, making it so that there was basically 2 moments where Huss had the opportunity to hit anything meaningful. Next clip on the waning moments of Blizzard World, Australia had a legitimate shot, I think, to take a map off South Korea, but it's with clutch play in this team fight that kind of chokes them out of it. Big dive into the backline, aided by a Diva Bomb to isolate Carpe. The team's got to run away, so they struggle to help him. He gets isolated. But the problem for Australia during that, Fate is pressuring the backline, forcing a mistake out of Australia's Zen player. He pops Transcendence a bit earlier than Australia even could utilize, so that by the time that they even start to press W to try to take advantage of the Transcendence, South Korea takes a bit of damage, but then Jonak pops his own, saving everyone, giving them the later support ult, which is almost always the better option. And oh yeah, by the way, he's going to charge up about 40% of his ult in this cleanup alone. The Discord priority focus from Team South Korea is insane. As soon as something is marked, the team switches to focus it. So Fleta's Brigida and Jonak's DPS Zenyatta is carrying the ground game, but the aerial game was the only place that Australia really could have made an impact, but that's getting isolated by the tanks. Fate and Fury are relentlessly diving this pharmacy midair, and although they can't get the kill on the Mercy, they're forcing the Harmony Orb, and more importantly, the attention out of the Zenyatta player to be peeling back. This is bad for Australia on so many levels. If their pharmacy has to only shoot tanks, she can't frag back the fight, forcing you to put your most lethal resource into tank characters that aren't going to die anyway, which allows South Korea to actually go get a kill that's meaningful, finding the Zenyatta way in the back with nowhere to run, attention split on peeling, and that's going to turn this fight entirely. Largely, this is understanding the matchup as well, because Australia has Winston Diva, Mercy Zen. They are a damage-focused comp. And since South Korea has 3 supports, including a Brigida, well, those dive tanks are going to do no damage because of the added sustain that Brigida just gives to your team. The Australian Zenyatta Arcaden probably had to rotate back back up to the high ground to make it more expensive for the chase to come in on him, but it's tough to make that decision when there's so many things landing on your team at once. Next up, I want to show off some objective discipline from South Korea. Going up against United Kingdom, they have quite a lead here on Sanctum, but the UK goes to a dive comp to try to outmaneuver this double sniper bunker that South Korea has set up on the high ground. And as the mobility characters start to take space, I love how disciplined Korea always plays these situations to commit to fragging. Nobody's going to contest the objective. UK has forever to finish this point. SK is playing a fragging team comp. This, for me, effectively plays like a triple sniper with the Jonak damage boosted setup. When you have Mercy Zen, you can't really heal tanks. So Fate and Fury here need to play defense just to keep their snipers alive, to attempt to set up long enough to try to win with firepower. Because if they go and split up at all to go contest this point, this fight works a lot differently. UK attempts to swarm them, which is a decent call and probably what they had to do, but too many skill shots are hit by South Korea, meaning that they maintain control of the team fight, which wins them map control even if they give up some objective progress to do it. As you may know, this is one of my favorite tips to give out in Overwatch, but so many times the situation requires you to not play the objective, and especially since UK went to counterpick with some mobility classes to try to overwhelm the snipers, the only play they reasonably had to make was to stand their ground and do what their comp actually does well. Bunker up and aim to hit skill shots, aided by the damage amp of both Fate's Supercharger, which does get focused down, but then eventually Animo's Valkyrie, which really helps them peel back and deal more damage than the dive comp can on them. Well guys, that's gonna be everything for today's video. I look forward to the replay system being in the Overwatch League. There's just so much that we can learn from gaining access to all of the information of what went down in some of these high level fights that I'm excited to see it escalate the rate of improvement that everyone has at the game. If you enjoyed the video and you found it useful, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.